Hi, I'm David Huboi. Welcome to Going Green, the television show sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce to support economic vitality along with environmental sustainability. You know, we support meeting today's needs without compromising future needs for future generations. Today we will hear from guests about the City of Hollister receiving the Helen Putnam Award. Also, we will talk about electric cars and electric charging stations. And finally, we will talk about the green, affordable Hillview project and the Gateway Palms projects, housing projects. My first guests are the City Manager, Clint Quilter, and the City Councilman, Doug Emerson of the City of Hollister. Welcome on the show, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming here. You know, the topic of discussion is the City of Hollister receiving the statewide award for planning and environmental quality from the League of Cities. It's called the Helen Putnam Award. And it was for the development of the 1 megawatt solar power plant for the water reclamation treatment facility. The city partnered with ClearSpot Energy to make this happen. Established in 1982, the Helen Putnam Award for Excellence recognized the cities that deliver the highest quality and level of service. Clint, maybe you can give us a little background about the partnership with the city and ClearSpot Energy.
Sure, thanks, David. As we were going through the process of completing our water reclamation facility, we looked at a number of ways to reduce our energy costs. We looked at utilizing biosolids, wind power. Neither of those were economically feasible at the time. We were approached by a few companies with regard to doing solar power. The majority of those companies were really just kind of construction companies that would come in, do that project, go away, and that would be the end of it. ClearSpot, on the other hand, as we talked with them, they had more of a vision to where it would be a community-wide effort that would encompass both ourselves and the school districts, which they're proceeding with, and an education and job training component. Right. And so then we proceeded to negotiate a contract that not only we thought was good for the sustainable issues moving forward with our community, but also was a great financial deal for the city.
Great. You know, we had ClearSpot on here on the previous show, and also we had Gary McIntyre with the Hollister School District talking about the partnership that you just mentioned. Doug, maybe you can talk about the cost saving and environmental advantages when private industry partners with municipalities such as City Hollister and form power purchase agreements.
Sure, and thank you. What Clint described was our relationship with ClearSpot. What we did was sign what's called a power purchase agreement. A couple of ways you could do that solar plant is we could, if we had $7 million or $8 million, go out and build it and operate it ourselves. However, what we did with ClearSpot was sign a power purchase agreement, which the advantage to the city is there's absolutely no risk to the city. Private investors put the money in, ClearSpot builds the plant along with Rosendin. They own the plant, they operate the plant, and then we agree to purchase power from them at a rate less than what we'd pay at PG&E. So for us as a governmental agency, there was no risk involved. We don't have to do all the monitoring or the upkeep or the maintenance, but what we do is save on our electricity costs. And our original estimates were a little bit over $10 million that we could save over, of course, this is a 30-year contract. Now those savings, of course, depend upon the unknown, which is the PG&E rates. So if PG&E rates go up excessively, we're going to save more than the $10 million. And rather than taking a gamble there, now we know exactly what our costs are going to be. So on the cost saving sides, we're saving money by reduced costs. And just I think the whole move, Clint talked about it in terms of sustainability, renewable energy sources, it just seems smart for a city to move in those directions.
Yeah. When you do projects of that scale, you know, the benefits are magnified to the community. Clint, what is the role of local government in promoting sustainable communities? What about the challenges? And do you see a continuing effort to move in that direction?
Sure. Well, I think in a perfect world, the role of local government would be to really be out championing these programs, implementing programs and doing those things. Unfortunately, with the world we live in and the economic times we're in, really doesn't afford necessarily an opportunity to do that. So I think the important thing that local government can do is take advantage of opportunities when they come up. For example, we recently received a grant for recycled tires that replaced all of the sand and at our playgrounds. We received a grant from energy efficiency and conservation block grant from the state, which allowed us to replace the HVAC units, the air conditioning and heating units at our community center to make them much smaller, more efficient units and save us a substantial amount of money, reduce our carbon footprint there, as well as we're going to be retrofitting the bulk of the pedestrian lights in the downtown area with a more cost efficient. So we received that block grant for that. I think the other thing we can do is try and make it easy for folks who have those sorts of projects or who are incorporating those things into their projects. Try and have some positive incentives to encourage those sorts of things, where that's something that really doesn't cost us money. I think on the other side of that, it's important not to incentivize not doing that by having regulations that are rigorous when you're dealing with those things. So I think that's kind of where we're at. And again, those challenges are how do you provide those incentives with the economic times we have without spending a lot of money.
Yeah. I did a little research. I think it was back in May of 2003, the city received a rebate from the PG&E for replacing some motors at the Memorial Booster Station. And then from there, I understand that we went through some lighting upgrades and got some significant PG&E rebates there. And they offer $25,000 a year to cities and rebates. Doug, how important do you feel it is for us to move in that direction?
Well, I think it's extremely important for local government to get involved. There's a move in the nation and across the world to look at renewable energy, wherever possible, use renewable energy sources. So I think we've got a responsibility to do that as a city and local government. Clint mentioned a lot of things that we have done. I became interested in solar when I read about a program called Berkeley First. And my first interest in solar was really to try to help residential building of solar somehow. And there's a concept of a problem with a residential person wanting to put solar in a house. There's a big upfront cost. So there was a program at Berkeley, California, later adopted it, whereby you could create an assessment district, you could sell a bond, you could do the solar, and then that you would be paid off in your property taxes. That's kind of in limbo because of the whole economy and the bond market. So I just think we had local government have to look at creative ways that we could implement solar, other renewable energy, but like Clint mentions, without a big expense to local government.
I guess it's a matter of also being aware of these rebates and incentives and promoting those type of development. I know we have development that we'll be talking about later in the show that are Greenpoint rated projects. And I think that I have to say is that our general plan that we adopted in 2005 has green building policy, and I think that helps us reduce our carbon footprint. Hey, well, I want to thank you guys coming on the show today, and I want to congratulate you for your participation, and also the City of Hollister for receiving the prestigious Helen Putnam Award. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David.
You're welcome. Hey, welcome back. You're watching Going Green, and on the set I have with me is Sharon Sarris. A little tongue twister there. She's a principal with Green Fuse Energy. And again, I want to give you a little background about Sharon. She founded Green Fuse Energy in 2001 after retiring from General Motors in 1999. As General Motors Director of West Coast Public Affairs, she was a member of the team to deploy General Motors electric vehicle, the EV1. Is that correct?
That's right.
And then she worked with the General Motors Saturn division, utility companies in California and Arizona, local governments and various stakeholders to install public EV, electric vehicle charging stations, and increase public awareness of the benefits of electric vehicles. And her company, Greenfuse Energy, I know you do a lot of different things, but I'd like to talk pretty much about the electric vehicles. I know you also that you have founded the Monterey Bay Electric Vehicle Alliance, whose mission is to accelerate the adoption of plug-in electric vehicles throughout the Tri-County region. Well, welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. And today, as far as electric plug-in vehicles, you know, we presently have the Chevy Volt, the Nissan Leaf, the Tesla Roadster, and the Koda sedan with new models from Ford, Toyota, and Mitsubishi on the horizon. Would you say this is a significant trend in the automotive industry?
I think so. I think just what you said, the number of vehicles coming to market that are plug-in, not just based entirely on gasoline, are really the wave of the future for vehicles and automotive transportation across the world, really. So although it starts out as a very small percentage of the vehicle market as we go forward, I think it's a great step forward and a very significant trend for the automotive industry. I mean, after all, electric vehicles are cleaner and cheaper and more convenient. We have an infrastructure already built with electrical grid, and so it's, I think, just a matter of time until we see a lot more cars and charging stations.
Let's talk about electric cars and the ability to reduce the CO2 production. I understand, you know, comparative studies have shown that that you can reduce CO2 emissions by like 7,000 pounds, comparing it to typical other cars of the same size. Is that true?
That's right. I mean, that's a good example of something like the Nissan Leaf and the Honda SI, the Civic Si, looking at the number of miles that they are driven a year and the amount of emissions that a standard internal combustion engine will emit. 7,000 pounds of carbon dioxide is really significant.
Yeah.
Not to mention that even at $3 a gallon for gas, that's $1,300 per year just in gasoline savings.
Wow. You know, let's talk a little bit about the technology. You have the direct current stations and I guess they call them the fast and level 2 alternating current charging stations. Where may I find these stations and who pays for the electricity? Right.
Well, first of all, when you think about either leasing or buying an electric vehicle or some kind of plug-in vehicle, you can plug it right at home in your standard 110, 120 outlets. It takes a little longer, of course, to get a full charge. But what you're talking about in terms of what we call level 2 charging stations, which you'll see more and more of in the future. We have 8 already installed of these modern charging stations in Santa Cruz County. 1 in Carmel just went in. There will be 1 in San Juan Bautista, just approval this recent weeks of a level 2 charging station. And there are hundreds and hundreds of more being installed north of us into the Bay Area, as well as south and throughout the state and to a certain degree the whole country. So the charging stations are coming as the cars are coming. And and those are the most frequent because they are less expensive and they give you a charge for relative to the amount of time that you spend at the charging station. DC fast charger, which you alluded to, would give a Nissan Leaf 80% of a charge in 20 minutes. Those are more significant. It's 480 volts, and there's only really 2 that I know of, at least in the western region. 1 in Vacaville in California, and 1 just installed in Portland.
And when they're at a public facility, how does the electricity? Who pays for that? Right.
That's a very good question. For the most part, right now, at least with the level 2 charging stations, a person with a plug-in vehicle would have a card like this. So they would go up to the charging station, flash it on there. A little door would open for them to then plug it into charge. And right now, as far as I know, there's hardly any property owner who is imposing a fee for the use of electricity. The idea is to really encourage people to buy cars, to charge, and make it convenient for them. So the property owner can decide to impose a fee, but right now the electricity is free.
I see. How does the Monterey Vehicle Alliance, how do you implement your vision and to promote the awareness and accelerate the adoption of the electric vehicles and the charging stations? How do you go about doing that?
Well, the group started about a couple of years ago, and the Monterey Bay Electric Vehicle Alliance really is a group of many kinds of people and organizations, nonprofits, business, higher ed, local government, and the whole idea was to get our 3 counties, San Benito, Monterey and Santa Cruz ready for electric vehicles. And so our mission is to do that, to work on all parts of it, to educate consumers, to have charging stations available for the public, to support funding for these efforts, and to change governmental policies that might deter people from doing that. So our mission is really to make this known as a EV-friendly region and to make it easy for people to get around.
So it's like almost an outreach to
Yes.
agencies and governmental organizations
And
to promote EVs and the charging stations.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, great. Do you see anything on the future with Green Fuse? Anything in the works that you'd like to talk about?
Well, Green Fuse, in terms of my company, is just really now dedicated, especially in a volunteer capacity, to work with the region. We think it's very important, and I think that as more cars come to market, there'll be many more people involved, local dealers and so on, and that will make that transformation happy. So that's really our commitment, is to do that.
Great. Do you have contact information you'd like to share with the viewers for people who want to get a hold of Green Fuse and learn more about EVs and the charging stations?
Sure, there's lots of resources. MBEVA, M-B-E-V-A, Monterey Bay Electric Vehicle Alliance.org. Some basic information as we work up that website. Green Fuse Energy has some links, and Plug in America is really a great national nonprofit that is a real great source of information, pluginamerica.org.
Okay, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the viewers about the Monterey Bay Alliance and Green Fuse? Anything else that you want to share?
Well, we just appreciate this opportunity to spread the word, because we do encourage people from across the region to attend our meetings every 4 or 5 weeks in Castroville when we know it's difficult. We have some people from Hollister attending, but basically we'd like to just spread the word. So any questions, they could feel free to contact me through the website.
Great. Well, I think it's a good, it certainly is part of the green objective to support electric vehicles and charging stations. I really want to thank you for coming on the show today, Sharon, and best of luck to you and Green Fuse Energy.
Okay, thank you very much, and appreciate your interest.
You're very welcome. Welcome back. You're watching Going Green. I'm David Huboi. I'm a licensed architect and a certified green building professional. And on the set I have with me today is Vern Furness, who's the superintendent with South Community Builders, and Johnny Van Dyke, who's a director of construction with South Community Builders. And before we talk about the Hillview and Gateway Palms project, I want Johnny begin. Maybe you can share with us what your duties are as director of construction.
I serve as the owner's rep. I'm working a lot with the initial project development team when they're doing land acquisitions and trying to figure out feasibility of what we can put on that product, or what product we can put on that piece of land.
Right.
And then I work with the consultants to help get the plans put together and through the local municipalities.
Great. And we've talked on previous shows about what's called the holistic approach and how important it is to, the synergy of all the parts working together. And it's really important in the construction process that, we make sure that all the parts work together in synergy. And as a seasoned architect, I know that a lot of times the superintendent is pretty much the unheralded guy. He's out there in the trenches doing the dirty work sometimes, getting the construction crews together, and he's the organizer and the leader and multitasks. He gets things done. That's why I wanted to have Vern on the show today.
Absolutely. I couldn't say that better.
Vern, maybe you can tell us what your role is during the construction process.
Pretty much from the dirt up,
all the way to keys completion. So we're responsible for making sure that everything's built to code, built to plan, and that it all hits the timelines, the time frames, and everything gets done to our satisfaction.
Yeah, I know he's out there, rain or shine, and he's everywhere, all over the construction site.
Absolutely, it doesn't get done without a good superintendent.
I know. This guy does a great job, I have to say that. Now let's talk about Hillview, which is a 25 single-family homes, all self-help, or sometimes called sweat equity. It's one of 250 now that we have in Hollister, and the essence of affordable housing is when you're able not to just to build homes but build community, and involving the residents as future homeowners in the construction process, allows them to, to feel vested in the project, and they take pride in keeping the units maintained, and they interact, and many times neighborhood watch programs come out because of that. So maybe I'd like to begin with on just talking about the sweat equity portion of the Hillview project, and Vern and Johnny, maybe you can share your experience, how it was working with the homeowners in that endeavor.
Okay. Yeah, the sweat equity, the Hillview project in particular, it's one of the darlings of our portfolio, the products that we produce. We do everything from very specific population-based multi-unit housing to single-family residential, and the sweat equity is the darling of that program.
Yeah.
And essentially what the families do is they have to build 65% of the home with their own labor. We don't do it. The habitat model is onesie-twosies, where they're building 1 or 2 homes at a time. What we do, and they use a lot of contract labor to help do it as volunteers to help build the home. Mm-hmm. The homeowners at the end of the day participate some, but not nearly to the degree that we require. Our program is underwritten by USDA, mm-hmm. Rural Development, and the spirit of that is started back in the 20s and the 30s when they were producing farm worker housing. Mm-hmm. And it's migrated into rural communities where affordable housing is a hard thing to come by. So now the families, we put them together in groups of 10 to 15 families, and it's mutual self-help. Mm-hmm. So we spin all the homes up together. Nobody gets the keys till everybody gets the keys. Mm-hmm. We provide a construction supervisor who trains the families in the various operations, from
right.
framing to putting roofs on
mm-hmm.
and painting. Mm-hmm. It's a very labor of love project.
Right.
Takes a lot of effort from my team to make that happen.
Right, and it was heartwarming when I went to the grand celebration to hear the stories of the homeowners working on their homes, and what a learning curve it was. It was quite a bit of a learning curve, Vern. Did you have to motivate them in any way, or?
We start the project, the very first project that they do is build a bench that they're going to sit on through orientation, and you have individuals that have never pounded a nail, never held a hammer, mm-hmm. never used a saw, and to take those same individuals that are going from that task, which was problematic, to completing a project, as the pictures before showed, that are beautiful, that will compete with contractor built and sometimes exceed the quality of contractor built.
Right.
We've had communities where we've sent people back in there and said, okay, find the self-help housing, and they can't mm-hmm. because they're better maintained. People have a lot invested in it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could take a 56-year-old single lady who has never done anything physical to the extent of what she's doing, but they're framing the house, they're painting the house, they're landscaping it, they're building the fences, they're doing the roofs, mm-hmm. and it's amazing the quality and the structure and what they get done, all while doing their full-time job.
Yeah, and I know that other members of the organization for community builders, like Dennis Lawler and project manager Seth Capron. You have to give them some of the credit, but both the Gateway Palms and Hillview are made possible, with the city RDA and the U.S. Rural Development Program, as you mentioned, and home grant funds and tax credit investment. Let's go to the Gateway Palms now, if you.
All right.
That project's evolved, and before I would go there, the Dahlin Group was the architect for the Hillview project, and
correct.
And we provided the architectural plans for the Gateway Palms.
When you say who are you talking
well,
about?
Well, Huboi Architecture.
Very good.
Yeah. It's evolved through quite like a zone change, where it's gotten bigger. It acquired more land, and we initially saw that as a southwestern style. Something that would be very cost effective, but actually it was, articulating the shapes and moving the setbacks, and the initial cost estimate was pretty high. So we went through a value engineering assessment with community builders. And we were able to reduce a lot of the cost, like simplifying the drainage patterns and going with TJIs instead of the open web
right.
joists and furring down the hallways. I'll have to say is that, and we just went through like a 3-hour walkthrough today, and I'm very impressed with the project. Is there anything that you guys wanted to share about the green features?
Well, you know,
you want to talk about?
the only thing I want to say is I'm very proud of the work that we do. We put a lot of time and energy to produce housing that is on par with anybody out there. We're a premier builder and developer, and the team that I put together with Vern and all of my subcontractors just do a great job.
Yeah.
Vern can talk a little bit about
absolutely.
some of the green features that we're
Both
proud of.
both these projects are Green Point rated, Build a Green
Yes, sir.
projects. Yes.
And actually, the funny thing is, we didn't have to do anything special to make that way. Those are our standards. So we've been able to incorporate our standards, and we hit the target before we were even shown the target. And we've done this with local contractors, not lowest bid contractors, but
Right.
quality people that are really invested in the product.
I'm glad you mentioned local too, because I'd like to just say a few words about the local people that have been working on these projects.
Yeah.
Did you want to just
Well,
make a comment about that?
You know, that is definitely important to me. I've been with South County Housing for 10 years, and the subcontractors that I use, I'm very loyal to. And it just turns out that a lot of them are based here in Hollister. San Benito Supply, B&D Plumbing, American Electric, TFK, Starkweather
Right.
Painting.
Yeah.
We've just got a lot of local subcontractors. Ponzini Insulation,
San Juan Batista,
San Juan Batista, so he's a San
Coleman
Benito.
Roofing, Watsonville.
Hey, well, I want to thank you guys for coming on the show today, and
No
it's
problem.
been a great experience working with you on the Gateway Palms project. And congratulations on Hillview, and
Thank you.
also, we talked about Vista Meadows, and
Yeah.
good luck to you guys in the future. Okay.
Thank you. We'll
Thanks
be
a lot.
back.
You're welcome.
All right.
Hey, welcome back. I think a key message in today's program was about achieving green objectives through effective partnership, from the grand scale of solar plants, electric cars, electric charging stations, to the more personal relationship when a nonprofit developer works together with residents to build not only just homes, but a sustainable community. And next month, we're planning our all organic show. So I want to thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Going Green.